Hi, and welcome everybody. Today's guest is Holly Cara-Price, and Holly has been a guest a few years ago when we were both at a Hay House conference in Denver, and at that time it was her 60th birthday, and she had been diagnosed with cancer, and the video blog, if you want to look at it, is titled it's something like Cancer Cured Me.
Yeah.
How I was cured by. So anyway, Holly had asked, she's had some experiences in her life since having cancer and being diagnosed with it, that have really changed her. And so she said, hey, can I come on again? And I have some other questions I'd like to talk to you about. So welcome, Holly.
Thank you. It's great to see you.
Yeah, good to see you too. So tell me, what's been on your mind? What have you been thinking about?
Well, I've had quite a year in 2020. I was glad to see 2017 go. Particularly, over the summer, I had 2 spinal surgeries, and it was a life-changing experience, and I had to quit working, and I've had cancer for 6.5 years, but I really felt like I didn't know what it was like to have cancer because it didn't affect my livelihood, didn't affect me being able to work. This was a whole new situation. I couldn't walk. I literally couldn't not walk. And it was terrifying. I had to have surgery. I had to, I would say I had to kind of learn how to walk again. I couldn't walk by myself. I had, walking around with a pole and learning balance, and it was pretty terrifying. I was in the hospital 9 days, came home, they said it would be a 6-week recovery, and they were right, and I did exactly what the doctors said, and it was a really big, learning experience for me because.
What was the hardest part of it?
The hardest part was realizing that after a life of, I guess the word would be service, a life of helping other people, and just personally, and also in my, and different jobs I'd had as helping, and being an assistant, or being a researcher, being a writer, an editor, just kind of helping other projects come to fruition. And being the one that moved, the one that made the trains run on time, pretty much,
Yeah, you're the one behind the scenes helping everybody else.
Yeah, so, and that's the kind of role that I enjoy, and then to find that I couldn't do that for anyone else, let alone do it for myself, I was helpless. I was literally helpless.
So let's stop there for a minute.
Yeah.
So feeling helpless, feeling powerlessness, what does that feel like? Like, where do you feel that in your body?
I felt it in my stomach, I think, mostly, and I just felt like I was falling off the edge of the world.
Is it like a sinking feeling in your stomach? What is the stomach feeling? Like, can you describe it a little more?
Like a hollow feeling.
Like an emptiness.
An emptiness, yeah.
Oh, like a vacuum.
Yeah, a total vacuum. And I had, prior to this, I wasn't really doing that well mentally, and then physically my body just gave out, and which also was like, hey, here's a telegram from your body saying, you better stop living the way you're living because you are in some dangerous territory here, and we're going to rein you in and teach you a really big lesson. And
so before this, you said I wasn't doing very well mentally. So if you're not doing very well mentally, or you're, have some negative self-talk going on, if you're kind of isolating yourself from other people, is that the kind of?
That's exactly right.
Yeah. So oftentimes when people get physically ill, or they're not doing as well, they start to isolate themselves from other people, which usually makes it worse, right? Mm-hmm. Until there's like this wake-up call that you had, and now you, somebody who's in service of other people's projects and assisting other people in their lives, are now the one who needs help.
Yeah. It was a humbling experience.
To ask for help, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
a whole other, like to be on the other side of that fence
Yeah.
was like a shock. I felt
Yeah.
like I just, jumped off a building and you know, like, or I went like, I was sent off to a new planet and I had to learn how to live again. I don't know how to describe it. It was really life-changing.
Wow. So what's really important about this is I think there's a lot of people out there, and whether they have cancer or an illness or not, who have a hard time asking for help. And in the meanwhile, women in particular spend all their energy and time nurturing other people, helping other people. It's the oxytocin in us, that bond, tendon, befriend hormone that we have. And we create community, we create nurturing, we create all this space, right, to help others. And we forget about ourselves. We leave ourselves out of the equation.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when you realized that you had spent your life helping other people and you had cancer and it affected you somewhat, but it didn't paralyze you.
Right.
So once you realized that now you needed to ask for help, what happened? What happened when you did that?
Well, that was the amazing thing. It was like all my angels rushed in, all the people that loved and supported me and were worried about me, really, really worried about me, just, responded like amazingly, just like immediately, why didn't you tell us? Of course we're here for you. What do you need? Just tell me what you need. What I can bring it to the hospital. I could bring it to your house. People were sending me groceries. People were cooking home cooked meals for me, bringing them over. I had never seen care like this. And because I'd never asked for this kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I was always comfortable being the one giving that kind of care. That was my comfort zone, you know? And so to kind of like overturn the situation and be that person was very hard and humbling and difficult for me to accept. But,
I just have to say, I've heard that this saying that just rings so true, which is organic community forms around shared trauma. And part of me wonders why we wait for the shared trauma.
Yeah.
Why don't we just get up in the world and reach out? Because as much as we like to serve and give and receive and how much it gives us to do that, you did it for a lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
And knowing that when you also reach out to other people, you give them the opportunity to give in that way to you.
Yeah. And, ever since I was diagnosed 6.5 years ago with cancer, I mean, many, many, many of my friends said to me, what can I do to help? How can I help you? What do you want me to do? How can I be, do you want me to drive you to the doctor? And I could never come up with things because it just felt very vague and I can handle this. I'm cool.
I got this. Cool. I'm strong. I think we're missing what the definition of strong and weak is, right? It's not strong only to give to others, but not allow yourself to receive. Our strength comes in our ability to do the dance back and forth of loving other people and allowing love in.
Yes.
Right? And it seems like this second phase for you of cancer has really not only allowed you to give to other people, but also allowed you to let love in.
Yes. It really taught me a profound lesson about love. And
so what would you say? What would you say to someone out there who's having a hard time taking love in? What's the one thing you'd say to them about how they might be able to do it differently?
I know it's hard to accept that you need help. I'm the worst of the worst as far as that goes. And don't let it get to the point where you almost die, because I almost died. And you don't have to go to that precipice. It's really not necessary to go there to turn around and go, wait, things aren't good. I really need to reach out, and I need some help from my friends and my family, and I cannot go on like this.
And it's like, I think sometimes people's biggest fear is that they'll be judged for
Right.
where they are, judged for being weak, whatever it is. But in fact, those are our own judgments of ourselves. The people we love, they're thrilled
That's
to
right.
be of service to us.
They just want to help.
They just want to help. They want an
Yeah.
opportunity to connect to us. And
Right.
hopefully it doesn't have to take, us being in a situation that's dire and so traumatic. And of course they'll be there when that does happen. But even before that, if we can remember in our everyday lives, if there's a way that we can allow people to give and receive love with us, so it's an even exchange.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I would say my biggest takeaway was kind of realizing for the first time ever that I'm not indestructible, that, that anything could happen at any time to anyone, and you really have no control over it, beyond obviously, the obvious things of trying to stay safe. But,
Right.
Let's face it, anything could happen to you physically or, whatever. And you really have to, the phrase just came into my head, get right with God. And you know what I mean?
Yeah, really, it's about getting right with yourself. Because
yeah.
the deal is like, it's about anything can happen to any one of us, but do I trust myself enough that I'll ask for help and I'll figure out what to do next?
Yeah.
So thank you, Holly. And for all of you out there, if you know that you have trouble receiving or you're better at giving than you are receiving, this is one of those moments to reflect on what do you get from giving to someone else and nurturing them, and how might you be able to allow some of that in? Where can you allow other people to share in that generosity and that giving that you give to them? All right. Thanks, Holly. So wonderful to see you, and best of luck. I can't wait to hear what's.
Thank you. Great to see you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.